I know what you did last summer.
Well, it's almost the 4th of July, so the fisherman...
The fisherman?
Sorry, I mean the hooker is back to finish the job.
I told you he'd be back, goddamn ghost.
He's not a ghost. He's only back because of studio greed.
What?
Never mind. Here's I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
It's a long, fucked up story and you probably won't believe a word of it anyway. Show us.
So we meet back up with Julie, who's been having nightmares about Ben Willis coming back to get her. This one has her confessing in a church where she says that she killed someone and then he came back and killed her friends.
He killed Barry and Helen last July 4th.
It's okay. It's all right. Just don't worry about me.
We've been friends since forever.
So it doesn't seem like she quite understands what murdering someone actually entails. Them being dead is very important to the process.
When you leave a man for dead, make sure he's really dead.
So she wakes up in class and leaves due to embarrassment. But this dude, Will Benson, runs out after her. He makes sure she's okay because no one can just have bad dreams and not need to talk about it. But he tells her that she's probably just having nightmares because it's the anniversary of the last 2 summers. When she gets home, Ray's there to pick her up to take her home for the holiday. But Julie says that she can't go back to that town, especially on the weekend that it happened, until she's in a better place mentally. Which of course is the exact opposite of what she felt last year.
We can leave town. Disappear.
I've already disappeared. Okay, now I want my life back.
So Ray thinks it's about him and fucks off.
You are not gonna throw this on me.
And then Julie just lets her boyfriend make a 12-hour drive home and goes to take a nap. She's woken up hours later by the front door that she definitely locked, so she grabs a knife and goes to investigate. After clearing the apartment, she sees movement in her closet, but it just turns out to be her roommate Karla, who apparently is trying to cut their electric bill by not turning on lights.
That's smart.
She invites Julie to go to the bar she works at with her, even though it's about 11 p.m. since the writers don't realize that the sun is up longer in the summer.
It's science.
But she goes and sits at the quiet part of the nightclub where you can actually hear, only to listen to Karla's boyfriend Ty talk about his sex drive.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So Karla drags them on the dance floor, only to bump into Will.
Really? This guy again?
He offers to get them drinks, and that's when Julie thinks she sees the hooker at a nightclub full of people. But when he disappears, she tells Will that she's going to leave a packed bar to walk home alone.
Uh-oh.
Oh, don't worry, she just wakes up in bed. I mean, this was a prime opportunity to build tension, but no. She's just gonna wake up and get scared by Karla's shoes in the dryer instead.
Oh, I love when they do that.
But then the phone rings, and it's a radio station telling them that they can win a weekend getaway if they can answer one question. They almost run out of time and take a guess at the last second and win. And now they have 4 tickets to the Bahamas, so Julie calls Ray to see if he can get the weekend off. He tells her that it's bullshit that she can go away on a free vacation with her friends, but not come and see him in the town she was almost murdered in.
That's really selfish.
She begs him to go with them, but he says he has to work. His boss Dave then asks him why he said no, since they haven't had anything going on all week. But Ray's plan was he was going to propose.
So was he planning to propose on the boat where she thought he was a murderer? Or in the alley where her best friend was killed?
So romantic.
Personally, I think the balcony where Barry was gutted would be more romantic.
Oh, well, maybe.
But this dude is so ready to propose that he carries the ring with him at work just in case Julie pops up on the boat deck like a fucking mermaid. Anyway, so he's gonna call her back and tell her that he can go, but Dave tells him to surprise her.
No, it's the dumbest idea I ever heard of.
So the two of them drive up to Boston, where they come across a car stopped and a body in the middle of the road. Ray goes to check it out, but it turns out to just be a mannequin in a rain slicker. So Ray turns to warn Dave, but he gets a hook to the face and he dies.
This is fucked up, man.
Then the hooker gets in Ray's truck and tries to run him over, but he's too stupid to run into the woods to get away from the truck. But then a semi comes and he finally jumps over the guardrail and rolls down a hill.
Well, I panicked, but then I handled it.
The next morning, Julie's upset that Ray isn't coming, but then Ty pulls up with Will in the car, and she's like, what the fuck? What if Ray would have gotten here at the last minute? But he doesn't, because he's in a ditch. So they head off to the Bahamas. Once this boat gets them to the island, they find out that it's the end of the tourist season and won't be coming back for a couple days now.
You're telling me that nobody wants to go to the Bahamas in the summer?
Well, the manager, Mr. Brooks, says that the storm season is about to start, and that's why nobody comes. Which is complete bullshit, because nobody checks the weather when they're going to a tropical location during the summer. But he says that nobody's going to be on the island except them and like 5 employees.
So nobody can hear you scream.
And now, Carla's upset that the free trip has a catch.
Yeah, but you don't have to be an asshole about it.
When they get to the rooms, Julie's under the impression that she and Karla are going to share a room. It makes it very clear that she doesn't want to be in the honeymoon suite with Will. But Karla apparently likes to cuddle after sex, so she takes the room with Ty, hoping that Julie will forget about Ray after a few cocktails.
Nothing against old Ray, but he's so
Ray.
At the bar that night, Karla makes Julie sing karaoke to cheer her up, but mid-song, the lyrics change to say, "I still know what you did last summer."
But shouldn't it say, I still know what you did 2 summers ago?
Shut up, it sounds scarier.
Yes, stupid.
Well, her thinking that the hooker is there to try to kill her again makes her stupidly run off to be alone in her room.
There's strength in numbers.
There she finds a note that she slowly opens as someone sneaks up behind her. Turns out, it's just Will with champagne and roses, which he drops when she reacts to the word surprise. Will explains that he knows she's upset that Ray couldn't make it, and that he was really hoping that his penis could make her feel better.
He's a horny bastard, isn't he?
This is so sweet.
Are you sure?
I've seen way bigger than that.
So he thought he would make his big move after she ran away afraid of something when he already knows she's uncomfortable sharing a room with him?
Some people miss all the signs.
Yeah, especially when it's so obvious.
Yeah, so when that backfires, he cuts his losses and goes for a walk. On the pier, the pool boy Titus asks the dockhand Derek if they can take his boat out to the mainland, but he says no. And after Titus walks away, Derek gets pulled into the water, and when he tries to get out, the hooker's there waiting for him, and he dies.
Very funny, asshole.
Back at the hotel, a housekeeper goes into a room for turndown service, but only takes the sheet, and then goes to another room where she notices blood on her hand from the completely soaked sheet she just took. But the door of the room she just knocked on opens, and the hooker cuts her, and she dies.
It is so awful.
At the pool, Ty and Karla are fooling around when they get cockblocked not only by Titus, but also Will. And Julie decided that after thinking a murderer is trying to kill her and her roommate wants to bang her, that this is the opportune time to take an open door shower.
What is she thinking?
She hears a noise and investigates barefoot on a floor that just had broken glass on it, but finds nothing. Then goes back to find out her toothbrush is gone. Someone then walks past the room while she's not looking, but she must have heard the dude walking by sound effect and knew that something was afoot.
And I'll know if you move because I have the ear of a snake.
She hears a noise coming from the closet, and it turns out that it's Derek's body rigged up to one of those Michael Myers booby traps.
My name is Derek, and I will be at your service for the duration of your stay.
What the hell are you doing in my closet?
I gotta work fast. Season's almost over.
So she runs out to get the others, and when all of them plus Mr. Brooks get back, Derek's body's not there anymore.
Where'd he go? Did the crabs carry him away?
So no one believes her, and even though there are 2 employees there and she tells them who she saw, they think she's jet lagged and tell her to go to bed, and they'll see if he was murdered in the morning. We then see that the bellhop Estes is the one who took Julie's toothbrush, and he's chanting some weird shit while he burns it. And then Titus gets stabbed in the tool shed, and he dies.
Listen, buddy, you need to take a chill pill.
In the morning, Julie checks to see if the storm has magically reconnected the phone lines, and then she and Karla go to the gym. She goes into the tanning bed while Karla practices kickboxing, but then she hears the dryer going and thinks that somebody put their shoes in and it might break. But it's not shoes, it's the housekeeper.
Cool.
But while this is happening, Ty and Will find Titus stabbed up like a pincushion, and then Julie gets zip tied into the tanning bed and freaks the fuck out when she can't get out.
But it's really hot.
Ty and Will hear her screaming, but also somehow know that Karla's locked in the laundry room and free her first. Then they go to the gym where they break the handle off the tanning bed instead of just unplugging it and then cutting the zip tie.
Because we didn't think of it?
But now that they all know that there's a murderer on the island, they go to find the radio to call for help. And since time is of the essence, Julie makes sure to change clothes.
I'm in a whole new outfit now.
But it seems that the radio's broken, and so is Mr. Brooks.
I knew you people were gonna be trouble.
So they run to the dock to see that the boats were cut loose. And that's when Julie tells them that this is the work of Ben Willis. And everybody's like, bullshit, you killed him.
It's not merely a future therapy bill, agreed?
Don't tell anyone about this, okay? Anyone who knows is in danger.
But still, they don't think it's the hooker, and they go after Estes. And instead of explaining that the notes on the karaoke machine and above Mr. Brooks are the same that she got last year, she just goes with them. So even though they just woke up a little while ago, it's already night when they get to Estes' place. There they find out that he was doing a voodoo spell on them, and find some of their personal items next to chicken feet and some other weird shit. So now that most of the group thinks it's him, they go back to their rooms and change clothes for the final showdown.
If you're gonna fight a war, you gotta wear a uniform.
While the guys look for weapons, Julie sees a globe spinning in the lobby. She goes over to it to find out that she got her trivia question to win the trip wrong. Because as we know, Americans don't know shit about other countries.
Did she have an accent?
She was Brazilian, or Chinese, or something weird.
And Estes confirms this as he creeps up behind her. Then as the guys come back to attack him, he reveals that he stole their shit to protect them with a voodoo spell. He also says that Ben Willis used to work at the hotel, and he's been seeing him out in the woods a bunch. They're worried about him setting him up, but Estes is like, do you have anything better to do than to go out into the woods during a hurricane? And they're like, okay, let's go.
consistently make the right decisions in the heat of battle.
So Estes takes him to a cemetery in the woods where Ben Willis' wife is buried. She was killed in the honeymoon suite for cheating on him, and overnight, Ben took his kids and left. But it looks like he dug up the grave next to his wife and spray painted Julie's name over the headstone. So she does her signature, "come at me bro," taunt to the hooker.
I have breasts, exquisite breasts.
But Estes fucked off, so Will goes to look for him, and the others go back to the hotel. In the kitchen, they grab some knives and then go look for some food. In the walk-in, they open the freezer to find the bartender Nancy hiding and ready to fight. Ty starts complaining about how he hasn't gotten laid the whole time they've been there, and then the hooker jumps off the ceiling like fucking Spider-Man and stabs Ty in the neck, and he dies.
You know, Ty, you are an unstoppable force of nature.
That thing does not obey the laws of physics at all.
I guess the voodoo protection spell didn't work.
Well, he took his chain back, so let's hope that Julie wasn't planning on using her toothbrush after Estes burnt it.
But still good.
Anyway, so they run up to the attic where Karla slips and gets her foot caught in the floor. She gets free, but the hooker grabs her and they fall through the two-way mirror above the honeymoon suite bed.
I did real good last night. You should have seen me.
After not cutting herself on the mirror at all, she sees that she's on the wrong side of the room and climbs over the murderer to get to the exit.
We didn't have time to work out the minutiae of the plan.
She then jumps over a balcony and onto the roof of the greenhouse. Not remembering what almost got her killed a minute ago, she tries to step on the panes of glass instead of the beams to get to the edge.
It's called glass. It breaks.
So this does not work, and she falls through the glass roof and is again completely fine.
I am clearly injured.
But when she gets to the door, she finds out that it's locked from the outside. Luckily, the keys are right next to the door, and Julie and Nancy get there to open it. Unlucky for Karla, the hooker's on the other side of the greenhouse, and there are like 37 keys for Nancy to go through. So it's a good thing he walks at the speed of smell. But Julie isn't having any of this shit, and grabs an axe, and breaks the window, and pulls Karla through.
Wouldn't the glass cut her?
Well, none has so far, why would it start now? So they run to the storm shelter, where they find all the dead employees, and then Will immediately comes in and tells them to get out of there. But I'm not sure why they would have gone to a dead-end room anyway, since they're having enough trouble staying alive out in the open.
I'm gonna hook you!
But Will tells them that Estes attacked him, so they go into the bar to hide. They see blood on Will's shirt, so Karla and Nancy go get a first aid kit from the front desk. There, they find Estes with a harpoon in his chest. He falls on Nancy, and even though the spearhead was sticking a few inches out of him a second ago, when he lands on her, she's fine. But then the hooker comes in and pushes it in further, and she dies.
That's none of your goddamn business.
The hooker then goes after Karla, who falls through yet another glass display.
Stop breaking everything!
In the bar, Julie sees that Will isn't bleeding, and he reveals that he was the guy who pretended to be the radio DJ.
What's your favorite radio station, Julie?
He drags her off back to the cemetery, where she pulls out a knife and cuts his arm so he'll let her go, even though she could have just gone for a kill shot right there.
Use your brain, Julie.
Stupid final girls.
You know how terrified I am of your IQ.
He then just takes the knife from her, punches her in the stomach, and drags her the rest of the way. She wants to know why he's doing this, and he reveals that he's Ben Willis' son. Shit, his name even spells it out for her.
You get it? Will Benson? Ben's son!
He changed his name to be a clue?
Oh, it's much dumber than that. He had to hope that Julie did no more research on the man that tried to kill her, even though we know she knows how to internet good. And then he has to hope that none of the articles have a picture of him. He then changed his name so she wouldn't make the Willis connection, got accepted to the same college as her, and looked up her course schedule so he could take at least one class with her. He then had to befriend her roommate and get her to like him enough to want to get Julie to dump Ray for him, even though she works at one of the busiest nightclubs and knows way more and hotter guys to dick down Julie.
You know.
He then has to hope that they don't have any prior engagements for the weekend of the 4th, have his dad spy on Ray in a town he's from where the cops are looking for him, then determine whether Ray's going to go on the trip, predict his route there, stage an elaborate death trap, and hope that no other traffic comes across it first, and of course, get to the airport on time. Will has to not only get invited as a fourth person, but also hope that the hotel staff don't recognize him. See, his sister was buried on the island, so he was just there 3 years ago. And Estes did remember him.
I'm doing this since before you were a gleam in your father's eye.
Which is why he attacked him. So he was hoping that he'd keep his mouth shut, even when they went to the cemetery and everyone was talking about his family. His dad also had to pay for 1 murdery prosthetic, 2 honeymoon suites, 5 plane tickets, and 3 semesters for Will to go to college. Not to mention room and board. But let's not forget that his dad had to pull off the disappearing body trick again while missing a hand. So it's not as complicated as last time, but certainly more expensive. So Ben shows up and is about to kill Julie, but then Ray shows up and threatens to shoot him.
Now where did he come from?
So he woke up in the hospital with a severe brain injury, and this ace detective thinks that he fell asleep at the wheel and got ejected out of his truck.
You'll never believe I was driving. Ejectocito, cuz!
He then escapes from the hospital, goes to a pawn shop, hawks Julie's engagement ring in exchange for a gun, convinces the guy to load it for him because he's got a bum arm, and then he takes a bus to Miami. He then steals the ferry boat captain's boat, takes what normally would be a 3-hour cruise down to the Bahamas in a hurricane, and is so determined that his arm doesn't hurt anymore. He then tracks Julie down in a storm in the woods just as she's about to be killed.
That's not possible.
They both call him a pussy, so he pulls the trigger, but nothing happens. Thinking that the gun must be crap instead of a dud bullet, he doesn't even try to shoot again, and Will kicks his ass. Ben wants to kill him, so Will holds him up for him, and just as he goes to stab him, Ray hits Will and ducks out of the way. And then the hooker stabs his own son in the chest, and he dies.
But you cheated.
He then goes after Ray, but he gets shot 8 times with a 6-shooter, falls into the open grave, and he dies.
What'd you do that for? You're a bitch.
And then the storm lifts, and the Coast Guard shows up to get him. Oh, and Karla's also fine from falling in that glass the last time too.
I am not!
Hell, her shirt isn't even ripped. So I guess that voodoo protection spell really worked.
It's great, isn't it?
Dude, what is your problem?
Is there anything I can do?
Got that right.
Hey man, give me a hand, would you?
He said he'd try. Try is like maybe, Julie. Try is bullshit.
Where else are you gonna go?
Hey, worst come to worst, you can just stand there, watch me.
I'm just gonna take a walk.